Coming up on the World Sailing Show, we meet Singapore's kite foiling sensation. Sail GP takes on Australasia, and the fleet sets sail in the Rolex China Sea Race. Six days of racing, all 10 Olympic classes in action. Defending champions, world beaters, and a host of sailors facing selection trials to try and earn their ticket to race at the Olympics. Welcome to the 53rd edition of the Trofeo Princesa Sofia Regatta.
This is a really important regatta. In the context of an Olympic year, I've won this event twice, so I'm looking forward to this event and I'm kind of not holding anything back.
It's going to be a tough race, all the top riders are here, so we're going to have a lot of fun.
This wonderful event is one of my favorite events to come to. I'm really excited for it to start, and I hope we all have clean, safe and good racing.
The 2024 event got underway with a big Monday. Huge swells and 30-knot winds limiting the action to the 470s, kites and Ilkas. Germany's mixed dinghy husband and wife duo, Maita and Anastasia Vinka, closed the day in first place to help improve their chances of 470 Olympic selection.
Today the conditions outside were like really big waves, I would say up to 3.5 meters. Average 20 knots, like really strong winds, gusty, really challenging.
They held on to the lead on day two, while the rest of the classes finally opened their accounts in much calmer conditions. Italy's world and Olympic champions Tita and Banti took an early lead in the Nacra 17s, while Norway's Nes and Ronningen scored a couple of bullets in the 49er FX class. Day three saw both single-handed dinghy classes start Gold Fleet racing, which included the top 58 boats in the women's and top 65 in the men's fleets.
Today's going to be about 3 times harder than yesterday, so much less space on the course, a very high density of good people, it's probably how I describe it, so tough racing, small margins.
Despite his concerns, Great Britain's Mickey Beckett maintained his lead in the Ilka 7 class, while Australia's Mara Stranksey sailed herself into first place in the women's competition.
This is a pretty important regatta for us as Australians. It's our last Olympic selection event. So yeah, basically the outcome of this determines who gets that games ticket. So there's a lot on the line, but it's super cool that it's so close between all of us.
Norway were dominating the women's IQ foil competition, with Maja Gisler and Mina Mobek in first and second places by the end of day 4. Poland's Paweł Tarnowski was proving even more dominant in the men's event, claiming 6 bullets in the first 8 races to open up a 5-point advantage over world champion Nicolo Renna.
Trying to focus, do the job, be aware that you are able to win every single race and just sail as you were going for the gold, and I think this is the right approach. I think I just managed to do less mistakes than the opponents, and that's it.
Daniela Moroz of the USA had run away with the women's Formula Kite, winning 9 of the first 13 heats to book her ticket to the medal series.
Straight into the final in first place. Really difficult forecast to begin with. You know, a lot of pressure coming and then leaving again, so you really had to keep your head out. Learned a lot, had fun, went fast, so can't complain.
Singapore's Max Mader had been equally dominant in the men's competition, claiming 8 bullets in his first 12 races.
I've had to give and fight with everything, and it's still tight, which goes to show that even after all this racing, everything's still open.
Elsewhere on the water, Italy's Tita and Banti were winning Nacra 17 gold with a day to spare, while Mickey Beckett did the same in the Ilka 7 class to claim his 3rd Princess Sofia title.
It's been quite a testing week, I would say. We started with that massive opening day and then went into the lighter stuff, and it's been a challenge from start to finish.
Light winds curtailed the final day's programme for the 49er FX, IQ foil and 470 competitions, meaning the previous day's standings determined the winners. That meant gold by 1 point for Italy's Germani and Bertuzzi in the FX class.
All week was a bit tricky and with light conditions of wind, and yesterday we knew we could take advantage of the stronger wind, and we knew it was important to take the lead. So we sailed well, and I think we managed to do it pretty well.
France's Mion and Lecointre won the 470s by the same margin, while 3rd place for the Vinkas kept them in the hunt for a place on Germany's Olympic team. which will be decided at the 470 European Championships in May. Poland's Paweł Tarnowski claimed top honours in the men's IQ foil, while a tight tussle in the women's competition saw Norway's Minna Mobek finish ahead of compatriot Maja Gisler.
It was a tough competition. It was close with points, and you really need to do your best every race and try to do your best every race. So it was a hard competition, yes.
In the racing that did take place on the final day, Hungary's Maria Erdi claimed gold in the Ilka 6 class, while Spain's Botin and Trittel did the same in the 49ers. Singapore's Max Mader underlined the form that had seen him lead the fleet all week by retaining his crown in the men's Formula Kite. But the biggest surprise of the regatta came in the women's event. Like Mader in the men's, Daniela Moroz had dominated all week. But she false started twice in the finals, which left Australia's Brianna Whitehead to take gold with a performance that also won her the Princess Sophia Overall Award.
It's so cool. Yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm still out of words. I haven't quite processed it all. It's incredible to have won the Princess Sophia trophy. Yeah, there's so many amazing sailors here, and yeah, to win the trophy is really, really cool.
The AC-75 that Ineos Britannia will use to mount their third challenge for the America's Cup this autumn has been making its way to Barcelona. The new boat will replace a development boat that was conceived back in 2022, their smaller T6 test boat.
A test boat is a big deal for us. We really wanted to get away from specifically having to use the AC-75 as a test boat because we felt we were hindered from some of the issues that we had with RB2 and our race boat for the last cup.
Rudder's just completely locked out here.
Why are we building a test boat? We are building a test boat because we are only allowed to build one big boat and we are not really allowed to do tests on it. So it's very limited, but we are allowed to build a smaller test boat that must be shorter than 12 meters.
The smaller the boat gets, the trickier it gets to control. So we know that it's going to be almost more of a handful than RB2, just with the scaling and the inertia. And it's going to be a handful, and we're only going to sail it with 4 of us. All of us just sat on seats, and long term it's quite cool as well because it effectively means we can learn to sail this in a very similar manner to what we'll end up sailing RB3.
With the build complete, the boat was shipped to Palma in Spain in October 2022 to begin its first tests at sea.
For the next 12 months plus, this will be the platform that we get all of our testing data and feedback, which will inform us in those key decisions that will go into the eventual race boat for the America's Cup.
Put through its paces in the Mediterranean during late 2022 and early 23, it wasn't always plain sailing for the support team and crew aboard T6.
This is an incident response.
All of the things that happened in the water that day, honestly, are things that we anticipated could happen, albeit individually. So then on the day that we capsized T6, we capsized it onto its side, and then we turned it upside down, and then we filled it up with water, and then we caught it on fire. So we sort of just worked our way through the incident manual, and almost any one of those scenarios could have ended by itself more catastrophically, where we might have had a total loss of the yacht. That's not what happened. So I think it's a huge credit to the team in the way that we reacted to a worsening situation to end up with the boat at the end of the day, back at the dock, right side up, dry and not on fire.
The capsize meant the team had to make unscheduled repairs before turning their attention to the various upgrades they'd been planning to introduce as part of the overall testing program.
It was really fascinating to get out on the water, start pushing the boat hard and see what those differences have made. We've still got quite a bit to test with T6. We've got some other configurations and of course always just trying to get that perfect data coming through, which gives us the accuracy on the testing and also helps us in terms of designing and configuring the race boat for next year. Palma's been fantastic for us, but of course we know we've got to get to Barcelona. We're excited about being at the venue for next year's America's Cup and getting into those specific sea conditions, wind conditions that we expect to see there. So exciting times all round.
it was the right decision to go for a purpose-built boat. We learned so much putting this boat together that will be extremely useful for the race boat. For us, it's really a big element, a big component of the whole campaign. So we use it intensively to gather data, to validate our models, and then that feeds into the race boat design.
It's time to continue our meet and greet with medal contenders for Paris 2024, as we check out some of the sport's defending champions, world number ones and new kids on the block. Today the spotlight falls on Singapore's Formula Kite sensation, who's just retained his title at the Princess Sophia Regatta. Still only 17, Max Mader is heading to the Olympics as current world champion and one of the sport's biggest stars. Not bad for someone who only took up the sport 6 years ago.
I started enjoying kite surfing only when I started foiling, really. Up until then, it was more of a thing that I did because my father asked me to and because I enjoyed the racing aspect of it. However, once I started foiling and I came up out of the water surface and balanced on that foil, that was what really captured me and made me enjoy this sport, because it was an interesting new thing which required more technique than brute strength. And later down the road, my parents did have to come to terms with the fact that I was going of speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour, and there was a realistic likelihood that I would crash.
Mader won his first competitive tournament in 2018, but 2021 proved his breakthrough year. He won the first of 3 consecutive youth world titles before taking gold at the European Championships and finishing 5th on his debut at the Worlds.
The day I turned 15, I won my first big international event, and I believe that was really when I got propelled into competing at a high level. Having that first breakthrough at the European Championships meant a lot to me, so I was generally just happy that I made it so far at the Worlds, and more so happy that I gained experience at such a high-level event.
In 2022, Mader claimed silver behind Slovenia's Toni Vodisek at the World Championships, before reversing the positions in 2023 to win his first world title. It established a rivalry that's likely to continue at this summer's Games.
I believe it has always been very, very tight, and I think last year was more my year than Tony's year, perhaps. I would say that we were very, very close, and that he deserved it as much as I did to win. So, more so, it's a lot of things coming together and having that stroke of extra luck at the very end.
Not that luck seems to have played much of a part in his meteoric rise to the top. All smiles on shore, it's a different Max Mader on the water.
I am trying to form a very cold and calculated character, if you will. However, there's a lot of competitive drive and emotion that's bottled up behind that facade. So if I do have a bit of a tricky moment, that might come out, but usually I'm very, very cold and try and be as precise as possible with the things I do. When we get down to the 4-rider final and the format is completely different, my approach changes from a game of speed to a game of control, because you no longer have the time to establish your position and yourself, so you have to change it to trying to control what's happening around you.
Alongside the numerous titles, it's an approach that earned him a nomination for the 2023 Rolex World Sailor of the Year award. But the prize that really matters is the one that's going to be on offer at this summer's Paris Olympics, where he'll want to go one better than last year's test event, where he finished second.
Racing in the Bay of Marseille is going to be exhilarating and exciting because we're going to have varying conditions. We're going to have very, very tight competition. If you want drama, explosions on the water, tight racing and speed, Formula Kite is the class to watch at the Olympics, because no matter what the wind speed, we will be traveling at a fast pace and you will get exciting racing to watch.
Singapore has only ever won 1 gold at the Olympics, so victory for Mader this summer would mean even more to the young rider.
Knowing that there's only been ever 1 gold is more of an opportunity, I guess. However, I only feel pride, and that responsibility comes with representing your nation at the highest level of sports. And I don't think having a medal that has to be won or not is affecting me. More so, I would want to represent my nation to the best of my ability.
The most recent action in Sail GP Season 4 has seen the teams competing in Australia and New Zealand, rounds 8 and 9 of the 12-event series. Sydney Harbour was the backdrop for the first of these, with Tom Slingsby's Flying Roo taking victory in the opening race on home waters ahead of Denmark and New Zealand. The weekend was a rollercoaster ride for Team Germany, as they were forced to take evasive action following an aggressive move from France. Luckily, Eric Heil's crew narrowly managed to avoid capsizing.
Germany must keep clear. Whoa! The Germans missed the mark. Oh, and this could be disaster for the German crew. Can they keep it upright? Just.
There was more aggressive manoeuvring from Quentin de la Pierre in the next race. This time, the French snuck in front of New Zealand, but the Kiwis were undeterred and went on to win the last race of the day. The next morning, the Germans made a fast start, battling into the lead ahead of Switzerland. They then edged out the black foils of New Zealand at the final mark, and Eric Heil held his nerve to steer Germany to their maiden Sail GP victory.
Winning race number 4 and picking up their first win, it's Germany's Sail GP taking the victory in Sydney Harbour.
However, it was Tom Slingsby and Australia who had the final say in Sydney, beating Denmark and New Zealand in the final to take an 8-point series lead.
Tom Slingsby works his magic, hocus pocus. Australia takes the win in Sydney.
We're so happy to win. It's our first win of the season, and we've been so close so many times, but it almost makes us sweeter to win here in Sydney, Australia, in front of our family and friends. Doesn't get any better.
Christchurch, New Zealand began with a bang as Great Britain hit Spain during Friday practice. Giles Scott's team were penalised 8 regatta points and 4 season points, dropping them to 7th overall. Day 1's racing was then cancelled with a dolphin on the course, meaning 3 fleet races were scheduled for the final day ahead of the 3-boat final. With 22,000 fans looking on, Denmark collided with Canada during the countdown to race 1, damaging their F50 and leading to more points penalties. But the biggest drama happened on the opening leg of the race.
All the boats start to turn, but they've got to keep clear of Australia there on board Canada. Big contact. Whoa, that was unthinkable there. That's a massive incident there.
The boat was damaged beyond repair, and they were also handed an 8-point deduction in the overall season standings. Out in front, New Zealand came out on top after an exciting battle with France. Just the start that Peter Burling wanted in front of the home crowd. Race 2, and after a forgettable outing in Sydney, Canada led from start to finish with their Kiwi skipper, Phil Robertson, mastering the conditions in Lyttelton Harbour.
Race number 2 goes the way of the Canadians with a Kiwi at the wheel.
Race 3 went to France ahead of New Zealand and Canada, and it was these 3 that made it into the grand final with a win apiece.
9 seconds to go. Canada must keep clear of New Zealand. Burling's timed this well. France are coming at pace. How's your timing? Peter Burling at the bottom end of the line. Perfect from the Kiwis there on the inside. They have control.
New Zealand inched ahead, and there was no way back for their rivals. Canada tried splitting left, but ran into light winds and dropped out of contention. France made their move at the end of leg 4, but their rounding was too messy. Their F50 reared up and stalled out. Peter Burling and the Black Foils made no mistake as they took victory on home water.
Christchurch on their feet. Say hello to your winners. It's the Black Foils with the win.
With Australia's points deduction and the Kiwis scoring the maximum, they leapfrogged their rivals to take a 9-point series lead. The perfect weekend for the home team as they look to finally wrench the Sail GP title off the Aussies.
To race like that in front of a home crowd was unreal. I mean, it felt like we were dominant in the final and we were attacking it, and it felt really good. So yeah, just so stoked to come away from it with the win and in front of a home crowd.
Celebrating its 31st edition, the Rolex China Sea Race attracted 21 yachts prepared to take on the 565 nautical mile course from Hong Kong to Subic Bay in the Philippines. After success in last year's race, Standard Chartered Sentinel 5 were back for another shot at glory in one of Asia's premier offshore yachting events.
Well, it really feels good to have won the line honors last year. And then definitely it's going to be much, much better if we're able to do it again. In any race for that matter, it's really very difficult to be able to do any prediction, but we just hope, but we don't expect.
The first ever Philippines winners would be up against stiff competition, but the race record of 38.5 hours, set in 2016 by the Mod 70 Beau Geste, looked unlikely to be broken, with light breezes forecast down the track. Nonetheless, the race start was a spectacular sight as the boats left Hong Kong harbour and headed into the South China Sea. There were multiple categories in the race, including double-handed entries, but the biggest class was IRC Racer, which included Random, Seawolf, Happy Go and Sentinel-5. The battle at the front came down to Nihua's Happy Go against Ernesto Achout's Sentinel. The race was settled in the early hours after almost 3 days at sea, as Happy Go took line honours by just 5 minutes. They'd shaved more than 20 hours off their 2023 performance, and with a corrected time of 2 days, 18 hours and 57 seconds, were too strong for the rest of the fleet. For the first time in 14 years, they also took the overall handicap victory.
On the first night, I told the crew just to go for it. I said, go as fast as you can on the first night while we have the wind, get as far down the track as we can. And then, of course, we have to decide when to come in and start playing the angles to the finish. But the wind helped us. A big call was whether to come down the coastline like the Centennial guys. They came down the coastline, they know this coastline very well, so we decided to stay out with the wind and with the angle.
It's the most exciting Rolex China Sea race that I've ever experienced. What's so exciting from the first time, from the first day, all the way up to the finish.
That's it for now. Next time, we're in the south of France for the Last Chance Regatta. And we continue our countdown to Paris 2024.